changes. What's the most dramatic over these last few years that you've seen on the title and escrow side, Julie? I'm super curious.
Well, that company, remain nameless, they did try to make the resale transaction more efficient. And from that, we learned a lot of how we could make the adjustment. And then with COVID, how we could work remote. So when all that took place, we were able to build in efficiencies to make the transaction smoother, more efficient, less paper, right? We learned how to work from home. So that made us better. I would say that's probably the biggest change, if any, because we're all governed by the Department of Insurance. So our fees and our rates are typically all in line of each other. So there's not a big differentiator in that space.
That space, yeah.
Yeah. So I would say efficiencies, and the biggest hit that we've had that's changed is fraud. Fraud is been top of the subject because we've had so many losses. And
is that at a higher rate with more of it happening, or
yes.
just, and is there a new trend, or is it just old tried and true types with different ways?
We've had to get so sophisticated on all our platforms, really educating the buyer and the seller, and we always are constantly in front of them because they are so advanced in how they get into our systems, and that has been the biggest change, I think.
So do you guys, have you had experienced like where someone sent their funding check, for their down payment, $300,000 to a spam, someone and it just disappears?
100%. Yes, that has happened probably at every title company. And they get into the email and they are able to actually duplicate the email so the borrower thinks it's coming from the escrow officer when in fact it isn't. That's why we always say before you wire any money, contact the escrow officer or whoever. Like, we have a protocol, and if you don't follow that and it happens, it's gone.
Not my fault.
Yeah, and sometimes we have gotten lucky and been able to recover it, but for the most part, I mean, if hours go by, it's gone.
I've here in the company, I've had my employees reach out to me responding, saying, "Hey, did you really want me to send you XYZ?" I'm going, what are you talking about? And they send me an email that looks like it came from me.
And it's like one letter changed. So if your name was Phil Rasmussen, they just dropped one of the L's, so you just would never notice it.
In the email address itself? See, that's a lot of the really obvious ones, like you open up the sender and it's like, okay, that's a Hotmail or an AOL yes. or, okay, clearly that's not, but when it's that specific.
They're so sophisticated. Very sophisticated.
That's, the reality in that world is life has always been governed by motivation to make money will spurn creativity, right? In good ways and bad ways. And when it comes to fraud, unfortunately, people that are looking for a way to, defraud people out of money are always going to be, in essence, a couple steps ahead because they're coming up with a new creative way to do it. And now that, they get more and more precise, that's actually wild. So when that happens on your side, that's an interesting one. I mean, that is devastating for people. Is there any, you said you've been able to capture some back on occasion, but when you aren't able to, where does that go? What's I'm just curious, like when that happens, obviously law enforcement has to get involved in some capacity, right?
Yeah, we forward the whole case to them and they dive deeper, but the consumer or the borrower or the seller, they lose the money. It's unfortunately, wow. I hate to say that, but it is true. That's why we go through so many steps. And if you are working with a title and escrow company, make sure it is, secure. They have a fraud department. I mean, that is our pet peeve, is we want to protect the customer.
You think you'll ever go back to, when we all started, they showed up with a check from their bank. A lot of times it was a cashier's check.
Yes.
But you think it'll ever go back to that?
I mean, we still accept it. You have to wait a little bit, but
well, sure, you have to make good funds.
You have to make good funds. I mean, I think if you're following the directions of the title company, you're safe. You just have to make sure you do that. And I think all the instances that has happened, it was they were on vacation and they didn't really read the email because they were sitting by the pool. It was just a relaxed response, and then that's all it takes. That's all it takes. It happens so fast.
And they're doing it with the numbers game.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Only having to tilt in their favor a few times.
Just a few times.
And they come out ahead. Wow,
Yep.
That's wild. Well, on our side, like the fraud on our side comes off in, different capacities on the mortgage side for sure. But boy, there's nothing like the idea of sending a few $100,000 to the
that's
wrong
the problem.
party to forget your day. Talk about ruining
that's
maybe a lifetime.
Well, again, goes back to this is the largest investment that you're going to do in your entire life, and this is your life savings that poof. That would
it's awful.
That would suck.
Yeah, and I don't want to say it happens a lot because it doesn't, but when it does, and that's...
But the phishing for it, I think, is probably pretty regular, right?
Yes.
Every day.
And our company does send us phishing emails just to make sure you're looking out for it, and then we're in our game, and then it'll say, no, you failed, and then sometimes we have to take a class just to make sure we don't... I mean, we always take precautions. That's how far it's come, though.
We do. I mean, really, it is important as part of our roles to be able to advise people and remind people, especially if they are, first time home buyers, or they're, those are the things that they're not aware of, or being alert to the potential for it. And
they're not even thinking about it. That's not even on their mind. Well,
especially when you're criminals think like criminals, and people that aren't criminals aren't always thinking, in the same lane. So, yeah, that's crazy. Well,